Hey everybody, I'm your friendly neighborhood Uncle Pete, and this is my series, Nails in a Coffin, where we learn that with great kills, there must also come great nails. Welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel. If you are new here, you can read what Nails in a Coffin is all about in the section down below, because my videos aren't really film reviews, rather a breakdown of the kills, and I evaluate how well the victim responded to their life-threatening situation. I'm making my way through the Child's Play franchise, and in the second half of it right now, tackling Seed of Chucky this week. Here's a look at the average nails in a coffin for the first half of the franchise. Child's Play and Child's Play 2 very close to each other with 1.86 nails in a coffin. Bride of Chucky just below them with 1.6. And Child's Play 3, 2.43 nails in a coffin, so not a lot of stupid decisions. Most of those kills were the people were innocent, they didn't have a chance to defend themselves, and they pretty much didn't have a chance to make any stupid decisions. So Child's Play 3 probably going to take that highest average throughout this entire franchise. Real quick before we get started with the video, my Chucky doll has been missing for a few days, and so is the heart of Damballa I had hanging next to him. I'm gonna have to keep an eye out for that, see if I can find out what the hell happened to those two things. While Seed of Chucky is often considered the weakest entry in the Child's Play franchise, it still can offer a good time if you just lean into the absurdity of it, embracing the overtop humor, wild storylines that can make it a fun experience. So it's a family affair this time, so let's get ready and give Seed of Chucky some nails in the coffin. Our first kill happens just 5 minutes into the film. We're in the middle of a dream sequence for Glenn with a POV shot of him running upstairs. When he reaches the top, Claudia's father picks him up, carries Glenn to a room, and scolds her for not putting her toys away. Then Glenn stabs him in the chest. He backs up, falls through the banister, and crashes to the ground dead. The first kill in Seed of Chucky only gets 1.5 nails in a coffin. This guy was innocent, and then obviously he had no clue the doll would spring to life and try and stab him. However, I do feel I should mention how he stumbled backwards so fast and so hard that he busted through the railing. At first, I was going to give him 2 nails in the coffin since he did nothing wrong, but the more I look at this kill, yeah, I changed my mind. That stumble backwards was just ridiculous. I feel the initial reaction if you're being stabbed by something you're holding is throw that doll the hell away and not run backwards. But we do that seed a lot in the movie, so it's more movie logic to blame than stupidity. But regardless, I feel 1.5 nails in a coffin is appropriate to start off this movie. Claudia's mother is Glenn's next dream kill. The door slowly opens to the bathroom where the mom is in the shower. Glenn stealthily creeps into the shower, and once he gets to the curtain, he throws it open, and the mom screams with terror in her eyes. Glenn stabs her with the knife and then drops it, and while he's going to pick it up, the mom is flailing around the shower. She grabs the shower curtain as she falls out of the tub, bashing her head on the floor. Claudia's mom is getting 2 nails in the coffin. She really didn't do anything stupid or foolish. All she did was panic when a 2-foot tall doll opened the shower curtain and stabbed her. I think she had an appropriate response. She freaked out as you would, and she lost her footing in the shower, where it tends to be very slippery. In her panic, she couldn't get out of the tub and to safety in time, but it did look like she at least tried to get away even after being stabbed, earning herself a solid 2 nails in the coffin. Special effects legend Tony Gardner, who plays himself as the next victim. Glenn had just resurrected Chucky and Tiffany in the special effects studio of Tony's. Right as the new family is getting introduced to each other, Tony walks into the room to perform some maintenance on the dolls. He has Tiffany on a table and he's unscrewing the plate on her back, and when he opens it, it's filled with blood and organs. Tiffany spins her head around as Chucky throws a wire around Tony's neck. The couple then yank the wire, decapitating our special effects wizard. I'm going to give Tony 2 nails on a coffin. This was a quick kill. He just was opening the dolls to make sure they were in working order. Of course, being shocked to see breathing lungs in Tiffany. Before I could even process what he was looking at, piano wire was thrown around his neck. Tiffany said hello, and then, he lost his head. He wasn't given much of a chance to do anything, and I didn't see anything he really did wrong or stupid. So when that happens to a victim, they tend to get 2 nails in the coffin. It's a little bit of time till our next victim, and it's Britney Spears, played by a lookalike. Chucky and Glenn are driving on a boys' night out. Chucky's on the steering wheel while Glenn is on the pedals. They kid off by Britney in her convertible. She turns back and flips Chucky off. Well, of course, it's going to piss him off. He pulls alongside her, rams her off the road where her car crashes and explodes. The foe, Britney Spears, is awarded 1.5 nails in a coffin. This was mainly because she was driving so recklessly on a winding road at a high rate of speed. That was careless, and cutting off a Hummer, flipping them off, and then driving like an asshole is stupid. If she didn't do all that, there's a good chance she wouldn't have exploded in the car. So, oops, she gets 1.5 nails in the coffin. Transgressive cult film director John Waters' character, Pete Peters, I like his name, is the next victim. He's looking at some photos of Chucky that he took, and he gets spooked when Chucky shows up behind him and then disappears. Right when Chucky's about to attack a photographer, Glenn, in an effort to save this man, rushes out from under a desk, but this scares Pete, who backs up into a shelf, knocking over a glass bottle of sulfuric acid onto his head, where it melts half his face, killing him. I'm going to give Pete Peters 1.5 nails in a coffin. Not so much for him backing up and getting frightened by Glenn, but I do have to argue it was stupid to have a glass bottle of sulfuric acid on the top of a shelf where it can easily be knocked over with just a slight bump. You know, he could have tripped on a shoelace during the day and died in the same way. I just think it was very careless to store acid like that high up on a shelf. And doing something stupid like that is the best way you can get about 1.5 nails in the coffin. Tiffany gets the next kill, so rapper Redman is having dinner with Jennifer Tilly, and while she's away from the table after an argument, he moves a plate and sees Tiffany standing under the table, right as she guts him with the knife, and all his intestines pour out onto the floor. He tries to call for help, but Jennifer tells him she's on the phone, and all he can do is look down as Tiffany looks back at him, and he pretty much drops dead. Redman gutted his way to getting 2 nails in a coffin. When he moved the plate and saw Tiffany, it was already too late for him. She really didn't give him any time to move before she sliced his stomach open. All his insides were spilling onto the floor before he could do anything, but I do have to give him some credit for calling out to Jennifer, but she was pissed at him and ignored his plea for help. So with the shock of seeing Tiffany and him being gutted like that, I just didn't see any foolish or stupid decisions. So down the middle, he gets 2 nails in the coffin. The whole family shares in killing in this movie because the next kill belongs to Glenn. Jennifer's assistant just showed up at her house and she knows Jennifer's in trouble and she can hear muffled screams. So she uses the key under mat to get in. She gets inside the house and she calls out to Jennifer and she slowly starts ascending the stairs. When she gets upstairs, she opens the door to the bedroom and sees Stan and Jennifer gagged and tied to the bed. Jennifer spits her gag out, yells for Joan to watch out before Chucky can get her. But Glenn runs out with the lighter and a can of hairspray, sets Joan on fire. She backs up, falls over the banister, down to the ground floor and dies. Joan earned herself 1.5 nails in a coffin. In movies, I feel no one ever heard of stop, drop, and roll. It's something you never see in a horror movie. I remember learning that all the way back when I was a kid, all those decades and decades ago. There were PSAs on it. I'm sure there was even a stop, drop, and roll G.I. Joe PSA.
Help! My clothes are on fire! Run for the stream!
Don't run! Remember, running only makes the fire worse.
And roll on the ground to smother the flames. Now we know.
And knowing is half the battle.
G.I. Joe!
Growing up, I thought I had a chance of me getting set on fire was really high. But anyways, I do feel Joan should have done that, yes. If she would have done that, would she have survived? Not sure, but she definitely wouldn't have died from the fall. Chucky and Glenn may have finished her off. But this is the 3rd kill in the franchise where somebody was attacked and they ran backwards and fled around till they fell to their death. The only reason Joan avoids 1 nail in the coffin is since she was probably most likely in panic mode, just like everything else that was going on around her. Chucky's in the middle of a rant, how he's pissed off about everybody's acting, they're all screaming and yelling. He's about to kill Jennifer and he raises his knife up to throw at her. Stan was able to break free from his restraints and he takes a knife in the chest and is killed. Stan is awarded 2.5 nails in a coffin. I like how he sacrificed himself to save Jennifer, who he was in love with. But throwing his body in front of the knife, I do feel that was a little bit foolish. I mean, he got his arm free, so he had other options. He could have gone for Chucky, tried to catch a knife, or knock it away. I mean, if you're prepared to take a knife throw into the chest, then you should be prepared to block the knife with your hands or something other than your chest. I know he only had a split-second decision. Still going to commend him for trying to save her. So going back and forth between those two, foolish decision, trying to save Jennifer, I'm going to give him 2.5 nails in a coffin. We're at the climax of the movie. Jennifer Tilly is in the hospital having just given birth to twins. Tiffany's there with the Heart of the Bottle performing the soul swapping ritual, while Chucky is using an axe to break into the room. Right as Tiffany finishes and she's going, switch, switch, trying to complete the ritual, Chucky gets in and slams an axe right into Tiffany's head. I wasn't too sure what to do here because Tiffany went into Jennifer Tilly's body and Jennifer went into Tiffany's body. As much as I love this franchise, it gets a little confusing as to who is whom right now. So I think I settled on I'm not going to count this as a death for Tiffany or Jennifer Tilly. Glenn then attacks his father for what he did to his mother. He's super pissed, so they get into a little fight. Glenn slams an axe right into Chucky's chest, knocking him down. He then proceeds to chop off Chucky's arms and legs, and he finishes him off by decapitating his dear old dad. I'm not going to count this as a death for Chucky as well, since we see his arm move by itself at the end of the movie, and when we next see him in Curse of Chucky, he's alive. So based on that, I don't think he was technically killed here. I know there's a gap in time, but I'm not sure he's really dead here, so I'm not going to count it as a death for good old Chucky. We jump to 5 years later, and Jennifer/Tiffany's having a birthday party for her twins, Glenn and Glenda. Her nanny Fulvia is complaining that Glenda is not a nice girl, and she says that girl is evil. So Fulvia quits her job, and when she turns around and sees Glenda, Jennifer/Tiffany beats the nanny to death with the Tiffany doll. The final set of nails in seated Chucky are Fulvia's, and she gets 2 nails in a coffin. She's actually kind of smart. She wanted to quit her nanny job since one of the kids was a little demon spawn. She didn't do anything stupid or foolish here. She was attacked from behind and beaten to death, not given much of a chance to do anything, which is a textbook reason to give her 2 nails in a coffin. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. Those are all my nails in a coffin for Seed of Chucky. Here's a summary of all the nails I've awarded. Here's a look at the average nails in a coffin for the first 5 movies in the Child's Play franchise. Everybody's really close, especially Child's Play 2, and Seed of Chucky. Very close to each other with those nails averages, which is pretty consistent for a franchise. Bride of Chucky just slightly lower, but still, Child's Play 3 is going to be that juggernaut. It's going to be a tough one to beat. I'll see you here next week when I cover Curse of Chucky, which came out 9 years after Seed, the longest gap between any film in this franchise. We'll see next week how those victims get nailed. Until then, I gotta find Chucky and that amulet. I don't know if that's not gonna be a good thing if I can't find it.
You're gonna die, Uncle Pete.